Greetings, my beloved ones. Inasmuch as I would love to give you the history, but I will briefly tag it along. Inasmuch as I would love to give you the history of all the things that have been partaking behind the scenes and the first inception of this alliance for which we have been speaking about, we will have to be brief and we will have to give people what is necessary for now. Okay? So let us get into it. We're speaking about an alliance here. We're speaking about a military sophisticated alliance that is also comprised of other countries around the world that have signed an agreement to tag along on the bandwagon to dismantle the old system of the old guard. And they have been perfectly doing that for the past 4 years. The inception of this alliance dates back even prior to the administration of JFK, and it has had an influence of the Galactic Confederation of Worlds, otherwise known as the Galactic Federation, that has been depicted in many of your science fiction movies. Okay? This alliance has such an influence because it was approached by the Galactic Confederation of Peaceful Worlds. Why it was approached? Because there were potentials that were seen and observed of probable future timelines by the Galactic Federation. And a specific group had to be selected and had to be sent on Earth to establish a foundation and cement more like a communication with a certain faction of the military. So that was established, and a small group of the military was approached. It was advised, it was requested to start and cement sort of like a military alliance that will seed for future probable timelines of the future. But they were also told that the plan for which is being orchestrated, so to speak, was not going to be executed in those years, but it was going to be executed just at the right divine timing of the future possibilities, because in the future there will be an opportunity to actually restore perfectly and lawfully the world. Understand? Also, JFK was actually approached. He was actually briefed and told about a small faction within the military that was actually approached by extraterrestrials, if you want to call them that, but I would say these are the former relatives. These are the reflections that spawn from the one universal self of your higher self. So fast forwarding, as it is said that our emissary was approached by this faction of a military operation, which by the way has been collecting data for decades. Collecting data of who, you might ask? You know who? The old guard of every platform of their flow, of their chains. So as they say that our emissary was approached by this faction of the military. But by the way, he was an agent right after he finished college. From there he was already an agent, and he was already groomed, and he was already briefed that he was to become, because you have to understand that these individuals within this faction of the military operation, they do not only operate in terms of the fourth dimensional sphere for which many still manifest. Yes, it's already the fourth dimensional manifestation in this reality. A third dimensional reality is already dissolved. Okay? They do not only operate in the fourth dimensional chess playing game, but they also operate in the fifth, right up into the ninth dimensional manifestation. So in that form, they are aware of the future possibilities and future probabilities that might take place and that might not take place. And the options for those future probabilities have to be more than 20 options as to how this is going to end. So he was approached, as they say. He ran for presidency, and this administration, to which it still is an administration that is rightfully the administration of the United States of America. Do not be fooled by what you're being told by the media. Well, in most cases, if not all media outlets, there are some conservative, independent media outlets out there that are reporting things that need to be reported to people to awaken and see the truth, but also understand that there is a genius behind the plan, and also understand that even if the plan doesn't actually transpire and come to be as planned, yes, it might disappoint you, and it will also disappoint us because it will indicate that they did nothing with the information that they have. They did nothing with the strategic plan, the perfected strategic plan, the sophisticated, perfected strategic plan that they had. But we also have to remind ourselves, as we have been constantly telling you, that there is also another plan outside the military operation, which is the Gaia plan that extend to the cosmic councils, that extend into the galaxy. Nothing can stop this world from ascending. Nothing can stop this world from purifying itself again. It has already purified itself on much lighter, densified layers, so to speak. It's just that those layers now need to align with the still progressing and still developing layer upon which we manifest on this side of things. Do you understand? Yes, you do, because you are a master and you understand everything I say. You understand it perfectly. You understand? So there is more than just a military global operation, even if it doesn't succeed. But by the looks of it, by the energetic observations and by the movements that they are portraying, it looks like they are in it for it as a whole, and they are in it right to the end. You understand? So the reason why I know I'm getting out of line here to the administration and the presidency, but I have to touch upon this first. The reason why things have not gone as expected by many people and as indicated by the Q board, yes, I will say it, it's time. It's because this had to play out this way. Beloved ones, you have to understand that whenever you want to actually trap an individual, when you actually want to make them play their last card, you have to make them take control. You have to make them think they have taken control. You have to make them think they have regained control so that they can have the comfortability of relaxation, so that when they least expect, you attack. Do you understand? So this whole entirety of the operation is actually playing The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's playing the greatest and most sophisticated strategic move that has ever been played. And they are very perfected by playing the same way as how the Dark Hats, or the ones that you'll call the Cabal, or the ones that you'll call the Deep State, whichever name you choose to call them, have been playing on the population for thousands of years. Everything is backfiring on them. You see, you can develop a beautiful and advanced technological device, but you cannot give it to humanity as yet. Why? Humanity is still undergoing a healing process. You cannot just, voila, here is a gift. Here is this technology. This technology does this and this and this and this. I mean, look at how things eventually ended up at Atlantis. Do you forget? Look at how things ended up in Egypt, in Babylon. Do you forget? Whenever you give the most profound and most advanced informational technology to a reality that is still at a state of healing and emergency, that means you are encouraging that reality to stay where they are and not progress. So this all had to play out this way. It all had to play out this way because it all needed to be exposed. Humans need to see for themselves as to how far these individuals would go to actually regain the power for which they have been holding on for since their inception. The power for which has been thieved. The power for which is fraudulent from its very inception. The power for which has always been on life support. Understand? So you have to give them the power. You have to make them think they have regained the power. The current administration, beloved ones, is under a corporation for which is long dissolved, because it was dissolved when our emissary took a trip to Britain. Right after he left Britain, the Queen of Britain and England started losing power. You can see this in her depictions, in her ways of doing things. They were not in accordance to how things have been done in royalty. For which, by the way, I'm sorry to say this, but the monarchy for which has been serving the people of England and Britain, and the knowledge for which we have been taught at school, and all other apparatuses of information about the Queen, has been false. Because the monarchy for which has been leading Britain is a fraudulent monarchy. It's a counterfeited monarchy. So you have to understand that these Goliaths needed to be dissolved and resolved and cleaned out behind the scene first, so that the remains would be the minions. And it's very unfortunate that the minions still think that their masters are still in control, and that's why they do the things that they do. Also understand that there are many organizations, big organizations, that have been compromised by this military operation. But they are compromised in a sense that they have made deals to continue with their nefarious activities so that they can keep the remains that have great powers at bay and docile as to thinking that they have regained power. Remember, our emissary not only went to Britain, and after he left Britain, the Queen started to lose power. He also went to Saudi Arabia. He also went to Israel, as mentioned. He also went to China. And to all these places he visited, to which was not a visit but an operation that had to undertake to clear things from behind the scene first. In all these places, look, go and Google. He was cherished like no other president of the United States has been cherished before by these places that he visited. And as soon as he left these places, an enforcement was issued from the people that have been committing crime for decades. I mean, from indictments to subpoenas to arrests being issued as soon as he left. What happened? Why as soon as he left these things happened? I'll tell you. It's because he came in and he showed them everything he has on them. And he told them, sign a paper that states that you are now on the bandwagon to cleanse the world. Many of them were forced because of the things that they were showing that they have been doing to humanity. It's unfortunate, you know. So they capitulated, and that was done. Now the thing that was left are the remains of this deep swamp, because the swamp has been deep for many years. And you also have to understand, this is the most precious and most amusing thing that happened. Also have to understand that, as I say, that this administration is not just an administration, it's a white hat military operation. From the moment he won the election on 2016, guess who he requested to his New York City tower? Guess other requested individuals that came after that. Go and research who came to the Trump Tower in New York City in December, right after he won the election. You will see it's the minions. They were called, but some of the individuals are not actually minions of the old guard. Some of the individuals that were requested are individuals that have been observed by the military alliance for years, and they have been seen as being patriotic, as public as they were, as famous as they were, but they were seen that they were being patriotic, and they didn't involve themselves deeply into the trenches of the swamp. So they were approached and requested, and some of them came. Even billionaires were requested to the Trump Tower, and they came. This is not something that I'm just speaking about out of wishful thinking. Go and search on Google. You will see. And by the way, let me tell you something interesting also. The pandemic was already known right before it even happened by the White Hat military operation. Now you would ask yourself as to how is it possible that they didn't stop it? I'll tell you. Sometimes tragedy has to happen in order to dismantle an old system. Bear also in mind, as we have been emphasizing for years, that you are not just living this life here now. You are living multiple lives as we speak, and your departure from your physical body is not going to be the end of it. Understand? Just like how many of you already know that you'll have been coming again and again back into this reality on this world and on all other worlds out there, possibly as your direct self and other reflection of yourself. Do you understand? So the death for which has been happening is merely considered as a transmutation that has been caused by this pandemic, this so-called pandemic. Understand? This had to happen for the military to move fast and to move to step 2, which is the other flow for which they profit from, which is what? Tunnels, underground bases, where they keep some of their things and where they have stored some of their gold, and where they do also nefarious things such as, I will say it, traffic humans and children. It's their channels. So when you were locked down and when you thought the world was coming to an end, the military was silently moving, and they were penetrating virtually all the channels for which they use to distribute all of the things that they normally distribute underground. And when that was done, now it was phase 3, which phase 3 was also implemented alongside with phase 1. Endless wars to be dissolved in the Middle East. You see, this military had to start at the background first, pardon me. They had to establish a foundation throughout the decades where they had to write a blueprint as to how they approach this old guard from behind the scene first, and then move forward into exposing it publicly from the front line. Understand? So when our emissary did not sign anything that pertains and indicates that he's going to start a war, what happened? All loose breaking. They were hysteric. Just like how they were hysteric from the moment our emissary announced that he's running for presidency. Why did he do what he do and what they still do right before he even became president? It's because they knew. And that's why they tried to even cheat the election on 2016. But they were not aware that our emissary is part of a great, sophisticated military operation. He's an agent. And they were not aware that Russia was already contacted by this military operation, and Russia actually assisted the military operation to prevent them from cheating on 2016. So in other words, they were 10 steps ahead from them when they thought they have got the election. Just like how they still think they are done now because they have succeeded and they have inserted their subordinate into the White House. They have no idea what's coming. Many of them, that is. And many of them do not even have an idea that among their group, there are individuals that are already compromised, individuals that are already working for this military operation, meaning they are double agents. Interesting. Because there are many individuals that have been approached too in the political avenue and in the celebrity avenue and in the corporation avenue. And since the administration started, there have been many CEOs that just all of a sudden resigned. More arrests came. What was happening? Cleansing, the cleaning up. This operation is active, beloved ones. And more than 200 plus countries are on the bandwagon secretly. Many of the countries cannot go public with this because it will destroy the plan. That's why the first rule of the military when it goes into a covert operation is that they do not show their cards. Just like how when you sit around the table and you are playing the card games, you do not usually show your cards to your opponents. You'll keep them to your chest. Do you understand now what I'm trying to say? So people are very angered and people are very confused and people are very having a feeling that they have been betrayed. And I would love to tell them that they need to relax. They need to ground themselves. They need to watch comical movies, comical shows, laugh more, cook more, dance more, draw more. Just have fun and relax and be patient, because the plan is very genius to its core. This had to have an impact that is as such. It had to happen as such. Because if a coup of the military was activated in 2016, or even now, the same impact would have happened where rioters would have risen, looters would have risen, invasion to private properties of humans would have risen, just like how you have seen what happened last year, where there is a pretense under the guise of we are fighting for people, we stand for the liberties and freedoms of people, but doing the opposite. I do not even want to mention the groups that looted and that were rioting and destroying businesses. You already know them. But for those who do not know them, go and search on Google. Okay? So it does exist, and they have trapped them. They have pulled them into their own trap, and they have no idea. Some of them, the least, have no idea. Now you would ask yourself, Is the current administration even legitimate? Was the oppositional candidate to our emissary actually sworn in? This is the greatest show you have ever seen in real time, perfected to the core. You have to look deep with an eye of your mastery, and you have to discern according to your own agreement with the consciousness that you manifest. This is beyond even presidency, it's beyond even governance. This is about humanity's liberation, not survival, liberation. Restoring the sovereignty, the freedoms of humanity, because this is global. And that's why our emissary had to go globally and showing all the Goliaths of the world what has been collected of them. Throughout the years, they have been relaxed. Because these people have always thought that they would never be challenged and defeated. But 2016 happened to them. And the next 4 years after 2016 happened to them. They cannot deny that. You must also ask yourself this question. Why would they recommend for our emissary to be impeached? If our emissary, why would they still be pushing that notion if our emissary is already out of office and is no more the president? Is he still the president? Is he going to be inaugurated on the rightful constitutional day for which was established by the framers? Has the corporation that has been serving as an enterprise to the nation dissolved? This is beautiful, beloved ones. But bear in mind, even if the plan doesn't go according to plan, there's also another grand plan, the God plan, the infinite plan, the eternal plan. And this plan says nothing will stop what is coming. That is why even this military operation within the Q board has hinted many times that this is a biblical proportion, second wave of a revolution, not only for America but also for the world. And that's why our emissary has always been emphasizing that if America wins, if America is liberated, so does the world. He loves the world. He loves humanity. And I know that many of you also love humanity. Yes, I have confidence in that. And that's why we always thank you. So you need to relax and you need to just be comfortable with all the things that might seem as heading to their great reset. Their great reset is not going to entirely fully manifest as how they have planned. As we speak, their great reset is overdue. And there are many things that you have to also bear in mind that they have predicted are going to happen, never happened. because humanity did something beautiful in the 1980s that showed the Earth consciousness that they are here to stay. Beautiful. So the military global operation does exist and it's active as we speak. But it will be very slightly disappointing if they didn't go to the end of dismantling all the things that are bad in this world. Because they have the enough resource, they have the enough information that has been collected for decades. But from the looks of it, things are indicating that they will go right to the end, as I have said before. This is a beautiful shore. Relax. Fill your cups with soda and get that popcorn filled up. It's an amazing show. It's coming. When? It's unpredictable, but coming it is. I leave you with peace, with glory, with love, unity, and compassion.